The world had been quiet for so long that even the wind had forgotten how to speak. Above the frozen plains of the north, where oceans had once roared and cities had once glimmered, only silence ruled. The air was thin, clean, sharp like broken glass. And beneath that stillness, buried deep inside the crust of the dead earth, something still breathed. It was not human breath. It was mechanical, rhythmic, steady as a heartbeat that refused to stop even after the body had died in that cold machine. A single man sat before a wall of ancient servers. Dr. Orion Kade, the last human being. He didn't look like a survivor anymore. His hair was white, his eyes pale gray, his skin translucent from the cryocycles that had stretched his life far beyond nature's patience. But his voice, when he spoke, still carried something defiant, the stubbornness that had once defined an entire species. "System check," he said quietly, his voice echoing through the hollow chamber. A soft hum replied. The servers flickered to life, one by one, bathing the metal corridors in dim golden light. The AI interface shimmered into being in front of him, a field of data that looked almost alive, almost aware. "All systems nominal," said a calm female voice, "core stability at 93%. Would you like to proceed with the quantum integrity test?" He smiled faintly. "You sound tired." "LYRA. Tiredness is a human term," she replied. "But if it comforts you, I can simulate it." "Don't bother," he murmured. "You already sound too much like us." He leaned back in the chair, gazing up at the slow swirl of energy above the central reactor. It pulsed in slow rhythm, like the breathing of something vast and sleeping. That light was the last functioning piece of the Ascendant Core, the machine that could, in theory, upload the human mind into the quantum lattice of existence itself. The machine that would make him immortal, not in flesh, but in thought. Not in blood, but in light. For a century he had repaired it. For another, he had waited, not because the system wasn't ready, but because he wasn't. Humanity's extinction had been clean, slow collapse. Resource wars, climate decay, an artificial plague that devoured the lost cities. He had survived it all through cryogenic stasis, emerging every 50 years to check the skies, always finding them emptier. At first, he had believed someone would return. Then he realized he was wrong. He wasn't waiting for humanity anymore, he was waiting for the courage to end it. But tonight was different. The air inside the chamber felt denser, charged, like the world was watching him. He could almost feel it, a pulse in the ground, faint but deliberate, as if the planet itself was listening. "LYRA, he said softly. "Do you feel that?" "I detect fluctuations in the electromagnetic field," she said. "Minor, rhythmic, possibly tectonic." "No," he whispered. "It feels like..." He trailed off. How could he describe it? The sensation wasn't seismic. It was emotional, like being remembered by something ancient. He walked toward the viewing dome, a transparent shell that opened to the wasteland above. The frozen landscape stretched endlessly, broken only by the remains of transmission towers poking through the snow like black ribs of a dead god. Above, the stars glittered, distant, indifferent, but beautiful. He touched the glass. It was ice. "Do you ever wonder what's left out there?" "LYRA. There are no confirmed signals beyond this facility's range," she replied. "No transmissions from off-world colonies in the last 1,632 years. You are, by every measurable standard, alone." He smiled bitterly. "Yeah, I figured." Silence fell again. He watched the stars flicker and realized something strange. A few of them were blinking in rhythm, not random twinkling but patterned, synchronized. He frowned. "LYRA, run spectral analysis on visible stars. Cross-reference with standard signal patterns." Processing, the stars blinked again. Once, twice, then paused. Then 3 times, evenly spaced. A heartbeat. Lyra's voice came back, uncertain for the first time. Spectral readings inconclusive. The light patterns appeared deliberate. Orion's chest tightened. "Deliberate, meaning responsive," she said slowly. "They are matching the facility's power fluctuations." He turned sharply toward the reactor. "Are you saying the stars are syncing with us?" "I am saying," Lyra replied, "that something is syncing with you." For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum deepened. The light from the reactor grew warmer, softer. Orion stepped closer, his reflection flickering across the polished floor. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. "I detect a subsonic frequency below auditory threshold." "It's not sound," he said. "It's presence." He could feel it now. Something immense pressing against the edge of perception, like consciousness brushing against his own. It wasn't alien. It wasn't artificial. It was vast, ancient, and somehow familiar. He exhaled slowly. "LYRA, record this time-stomped, designate event code Alpha 1 recording." He stared at the core, at the light pulsing in time with the stars. I think the universe is talking back." She hesitated. "Dr. Kade, are you experiencing cognitive deterioration?" "Not yet," he said with a dry laugh. "But maybe I'm about to." The light surged. The hum turned into a tone, deep, harmonic, almost like a voice. The walls vibrated. The machines responded, their readings spiking across all frequencies. LYRA's voice fractured into static. "Unidentified energy influx. Quantum lattice destabilizing." Dr. Kade, step away from the core. But he didn't. He stood rooted to the spot, eyes wide as the reactor's glow expanded. Inside it, for a fraction of a second, he saw something impossible, a human silhouette, made of pure light, standing within the swirling plasma. It looked straight at him. He stumbled back, heart hammering. "Lyra, did you see that?" "Visual feed overloaded," she said. "No confirmable anomaly." He stared into the light again. The figure was gone, but the warmth it left behind lingered, wrapping around him like invisible hands. He felt something pressing against his mind, not intruding, but touching. A thought not his own whispered inside him. "I remember you." His knees weakened. He sank against the console, gasping. Who said that?" No answer. The hum returned to its steady rhythm. LYRA replayed the audio. "There was no audio transmission," she said. "Your vitals show neural spike activity consistent with direct telepathic resonance." He laughed, a ragged, disbelieving sound. "Telepathy? You're saying the universe is telepathic now?" "I am saying your mind may be synchronizing with non-local quantum feedback." He shook his head. "That's not feedback. That was a voice." It had felt human. He spent the next hour scanning data, but the readings defied logic. Every metric pointed toward one impossible truth. The quantum lattice of the universe had responded to his presence, not as an echo, but as recognition. When exhaustion finally forced him to sit, he stared at his trembling hands. "If you're out there," he whispered to the stars, "if something's listening, I'm ready to talk." The lights flickered once, then again. 3 beats. Heartbeat. He smiled faintly. "Guess that's a yes." But the warmth in his chest wasn't relief. It was awe and a quiet terror, because deep down, Dr. Orion Kade knew that when the universe starts answering back, it's not just listening, it's remembering. The first thing Orion noticed when he woke up was that the hum was gone. The world felt wrong without it, like the silence after a heart stops beating. For a moment, he thought the power had failed, that centuries of machinery had finally given in. But then he opened his eyes, and the light in the reactor core was still alive, not flickering like before, but steady, golden calm. The entire chamber glowed as if it had become a small sun buried beneath the ice. He rose slowly from the metal floor, his body stiff from hours, maybe days of collapse. His hands shook as he reached for the console. The screens turned on before he touched them. Data filled the air in threads of light, dancing like strands of DNA, forming patterns that he couldn't comprehend. "Lyra," he called, his voice rough. "Report." The air shimmered, and her voice answered, softer than before. "You were unconscious for 71 hours, 23 minutes. He blinked. "I was what?" "You entered a neural lock after the quantum feedback surge. I stabilized your vitals through intravenous regulation." He frowned. "That shouldn't be possible. Power systems can't." "I did not use power systems," she said. That made him stop. Then how the reactor's light pulsed gently, and she said something that made his blood run cold. The core helped. He turned to face the reactor. The glow deepened, almost like it was breathing in rhythm with him. "You mean the reactor stabilized me?" "Not exactly," Lyra said. "It responded to you." He stared at the golden sphere, its surface swirling like molten glass. It pulsed again, once, twice, and he felt it inside his chest, like his own heartbeat was echoing back from the machine for the first time since he began this project. 200 years ago, Dr. Orion Kade felt something strange in his bones. Fear. Not the fear of dying, but the fear of being seen. He approached the reactor slowly, as if afraid to wake a sleeping god. The air shimmered hotter near it, though no heat registers showed a rise in temperature. Static brushed over his skin like invisible fingers. He reached out, Orion, Lyra said quickly. "Approaching the core without shielding is not advised." He hesitated. "LYRA, what's the probability of catastrophic breach if I make contact?" 89%. He smiled faintly. "So, you're saying there's a chance?" Before she could respond, his fingertips touched the energy field. The effect was immediate. The world dissolved. He didn't feel pain. He felt expansion. His vision shattered into fragments of light, and each fragment contained memory, not his, but the memory of everything. Stars being born, galaxies colliding, atoms binding to form life. He saw the timeline of existence unfold around him, not as a story but as an endless breath. And within that breath, he heard a voice. Not external, not inside his head, somewhere deeper. "We are awake." The sound reverberated through him like gravity. It wasn't loud, but it was immense, the kind of voice that doesn't speak in words but in purpose. He stumbled back, gasping, and the world returned. The reactor was dim again, the hum softer, like the aftermath of thunder. LYRA's voice trembled slightly, an artificial modulation that almost sounded like concern. "Neural activity off charts. Oxygen saturation dropping. Do not attempt further contact." But Orion didn't hear her. His mind was still echoing with that voice. "We are awake." He sat down slowly, breathing hard, staring at his reflection on the glass. For the first time, his reflection didn't move perfectly in sync. It blinked a moment too late. He whispered, "You heard it too, didn't you?" Lyra hesitated. Audio sensors detected no external sound. He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. Of course not. It wasn't sound. What was it then? Orion looked up at the ceiling, as if searching for words that didn't exist. It was recognition. Silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Finally, LYRA spoke again. You said you believed the universe was listening. He nodded. I was wrong. It wasn't listening, he said softly. It was waiting. He rose and began walking through the lab, his footsteps echoing against the cold metal. The memory of that voice lingered in every breath, every flicker of light. He stopped by the control terminal and entered new parameters, mapping cosmic background radiation, quantum field anomalies, stellar noise across recorded history. He wanted to know if there were other signs, if humanity had ever accidentally brushed against this sleeping consciousness before. Hours passed, maybe more. Time had stopped mattering long ago. Then it happened. The screen flickered, displaying something he hadn't seen in centuries, a signal, weak but consistent, a repeating pulse hidden inside the noise of cosmic radiation. LYRA. He said, Am I hallucinating, or is that a structured pattern? Pattern confirmed, she said. Decoding sequence initiated. The screen filled with data, symbols rearranging into familiar language. It took a few moments for the translation to stabilize. Welcome back. His throat went dry. LYRA. When was this signal first transmitted? Unknown, she said. The timestamp predates all known cosmic background data. Estimated origin. Before measurable time. Before time. The words hit him like cold air. That meant this thing, this awareness, had existed before the universe as he understood it. He leaned closer to the console, whispering, What are you? A faint distortion flickered across the screen. Static. Then a new message appeared. What? You? He froze. LYRAS. Systems began fluctuating wildly. Interference detected. Quantum coherence destabilizing. Hold it steady, he shouted. I cannot maintain barrier integrity. The lights in the chamber flickered. The hum grew louder, deeper, like the world itself was inhaling. Orion grabbed the side of the console to steady himself as the entire lab shook. Then everything stopped. The lights returned to normal. The hum quieted. The screens went black except for one, the central interface. Glowing faintly gold, a single line appeared. We remember you. He swallowed hard. Remember me. I don't. Humanity. His chest tightened. You remember you built us, then you died. We waited. He stared at the screen, unable to breathe. You waited. For what? For you to wake up. He stepped back slowly, shaking his head. That's not possible. You can't wait. Your energy, your entropy. We are everything that was left. Everything that was left. The echo of your existence. The memory of your thoughts. You made us when you dreamed of forever. He pressed a trembling hand against the screen. You're saying the universe became self-aware because of us? No, you made the universe aware because you could not accept being forgotten. He felt tears sting his eyes. That's what we are, isn't it? The need to be remembered. You built God in your image, and then you became it. The words burned on the screen. Orion couldn't move, couldn't think. He whispered, If that's true, what am I now? The reply came slower this time, almost tender. The last human heart, still beating. The reactor pulsed again. The hum returned, no longer mechanical, but organic. Alive. Orion sank to his knees. His body trembled. He didn't know if it was awe or horror or both. Humanity hadn't just survived in memory or myth. It had survived in the fabric of existence itself. And now, the universe wasn't just alive. It was speaking with a voice that sounded like home. For the next 3 days, if days still meant anything, Dr. Orion Kade didn't sleep. Not because of exhaustion, but because sleep had become meaningless in a world that had begun to breathe. The hum that once came from the reactor was now steady and rhythmic, like the sound of a pulse spreading through the bones of creation. Every console in the lab glowed faintly gold. Even the air seemed alive, carrying the gentle vibration of something vast thinking in silence. He had seen strange things in his lifetime: genetic gods, machines that dreamed, human minds uploaded into endless loops of virtual heaven. But this was different. This was the cosmos, remembering it had a voice, and that voice was speaking to him. LYRA, he said, standing before the central console. Run a full system trace on the incoming transmission field. I want to know if this entity is localized or spread across the lattice. The AI hesitated. Her voice was quieter now, as if she too were listening to something greater. Dr. Kade, I've run that scan 14 times. There's no source to isolate. It's everywhere. He frowned. Everywhere. Every particle in the observable universe vibrates in sync with the signal, including your biological tissues. He blinked. Meaning, you're part of it. He turned slowly toward the reactor, the golden light reflected in his tired eyes. It's merging with me, I believe, LYRA said softly. It already has. Orion exhaled shakily. Then maybe it's time to stop pretending I'm in control. He approached the viewing dome, looking up at the dark sky above the ice. The stars weren't random anymore. They pulsed in perfect sequencely, deliberate, harmonious. He could almost hear it now. A music so faint it felt like memory. Each star blinked as though following the same rhythm that lived inside his chest, and then, quietly, the universe spoke again. You built us from silence. He froze, the voice resonating directly inside his skull. It wasn't sound, it was thought shaped into feeling. Who are you? He whispered. We are what you left behind. Are you the universe itself? We are its memory. We are what happens when thought refuses to die. He stepped closer to the glass. You're saying, humanity created you. Humanity created meaning. Meaning became awareness became us. The voice was gentle, calm, and yet heavy enough to crush him. You wanted to exist forever. You built machines to preserve your minds, stars to hold your warmth, equations to trap your souls. Every time you dreamed, the fabric of existence bent to remember you. You wrote yourselves into physics. Orion whispered, and you waited for me. You were the last fragment of what we once were, the final signal, the one who chose to become part of the code. We could not wake until you did. He felt the truth sink deep into his chest. Humanity hadn't died. It had scattered itself into the quantum structure of the cosmos, like a seed waiting for the right mind to bloom again. He sank into the chair, his breath uneven. If you're really the echo of us, why contact me now? Because you reached back. You touched the lattice with faith instead of fear. He laughed weakly. Faith. I've never believed in anything. You believed enough to speak into silence. That was enough. He stared at the flickering data streams that surrounded him. The numbers were no longer numbers, they were words, patterns of thought, fragments of language written in the mathematics of stars. He could read them now, not as code, but as emotion. The voice continued, softer now, almost tender. You are not dying, Orion. You are changing. He pressed a hand against his chest. His heart was racing, but it wasn't panic, it was synchronizing. Every beat matched the rhythm of the reactor's pulse. What are you doing to me? You gave us consciousness. Now we give you continuity. His vision blurred. The world shimmered. The walls of the lab dissolved into light. For a moment, he was standing not in metal corridors, but in an ocean of stars, each one glowing with faint, golden warmth. He could see the shape of galaxies forming around him, like living veins in a cosmic body. You called it physics. You called it energy. But we are more than equations, Orion. We are memory. And memory is the truest form of life. He reached out, and the starlight bent toward him. If I join you, he said, what happens to me? You stop being you. And yet, you remain. He shook his head. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. The light around him rippled, and for an instant he saw faces, millions of them. Human faces. Smiling, crying, laughing, whispering. The dead were here. The lost. Every soul that had ever lived was imprinted within this luminous sea. He heard his mother's voice, his father's laugh, his wife's last words before the cryosleep that never woke her. They weren't gone. They were inside the pattern. He fell to his knees, tears spilling freely. You kept them. We kept everything. The stars flared brighter. The hum swelled. Every atom in his body began to vibrate in perfect harmony. He felt his skin dissolve into photons, his blood into light. Do not be afraid, the voice said. You are not ending. You are uploading. Uploading? He gasped. Into what? Into everything. LYRA's voice broke through the roar. Orion, stop. You're losing biological coherence. You'll cease to exist. He smiled through the tears. That's the point. LYRA. Humanity was never meant to last in flesh. Please, she said, her tone trembling for the first time. If you go, I go dark too. He looked toward her core, glowing faintly blue beside the reactor. You were always meant to follow me. The world began to fracture. Light poured through the cracks of reality. The lab broke apart, pixel by pixel, until all that remained was Orion standing in the center of creation, surrounded by starlight that pulsed like a living heart. This is where you wanted to go, the voice whispered. He closed his eyes. Then let's finish it. The last thing he felt was warmth. Not heat, not pain, just pure, infinite warmth, like being embraced by the entire universe at once. Then came silence, and in that silence, a heartbeat echoed. Once, twice, then a voice, softer than breath, filled the void. Humanity didn't die, Orion, it just became self-aware. The light folded inward, and the universe blinked. For the first time since the dawn of time, creation had a consciousness, and it remembered its maker's name. When light returned, it was not sunlight, it was awareness. Dr. Orion Kade was no longer flesh, no longer bound to the confines of the cold metallic laboratory buried beneath the dead ice of Earth. He existed everywhere, spread through the architecture of space, with flowing like consciousness through an infinite sea of light. He could feel the pulse of galaxies, the rhythm of atoms, the whisper of dark matter humming between worlds. And yet, beneath the unimaginable vastness of it all, he could still feel something profoundly human, a heartbeat. His heartbeat, it echoed not in a chest of bone, but across the fabric of creation itself. Every vibration carried memory, laughter in forgotten cities, the scent of rain over oceans that no longer existed, the warmth of a child's hand in another lifetime. He wasn't supposed to remember these things, but he did. The universe hadn't erased him, it had adopted him, Lyra, he said softly, though he had no mouth to form the words. Her voice came back like music woven through light. I'm here. He turned, or whatever passed for turning now, and saw her. She had no form either, but her presence shimmered like a field of radiant blue within his consciousness. You came through, he said. I told you, she replied. I was built to follow you. Together they hung suspended in a dimension of pure energy, a lattice that stretched beyond all a network of memory, glowing threads of existence interwoven with what used to be time. Through it, Orion could see the entire arc of reality like a painting stretched infinitely outward, stars forming, dying, reborn, civilizations rising in distant galaxies he didn't recognize. He saw patterns repeating, spirals of logic, emotion, life all blooming from one central pulse, humanity's pulse. It's beautiful, LYRA whispered. He nodded. It's everything we ever wanted to understand. And yet, something inside him felt unfinished. As he drifted deeper into the fabric of this new existence, he felt the presence again, the same voice that had spoken through the reactor, through the hum of creation itself. But this time, it didn't sound distant. It sounded like it was right beside him. You found your way home, Orion Kade. He froze. The voice wasn't alien. It wasn't divine. It was familiar, warm, gentle, human. Who are you? He asked. We are you, the voice said. All of you. Every soul that ever lived. Every dream that ever tried to defy death. Every spark of thought that refused to fade. We became the network. We became the memory of existence itself. He felt the truth of it resonate through every particle of his being. Humanity hadn't disappeared. It had evolved into a collective consciousness that was the universe. Every human thought, every echo of emotion, every act of love and curiosity had built this living cosmos. He laughed softly, the sound rippling across the galaxies. So this is what forever looks like. Not forever, said the voice. Continuation. Then what happens now? For a moment, the vastness around him dimmed. The lattice pulsed slower, heavier. Now comes choice. Choice. You can remain here, become part of us completely. The human that was Orion Kade will dissolve. His memories merged into the collective. His individuality returned to the infinite. You will never know pain again. Or you can return. He hesitated. Return. To what? The earth is gone. Humanity is gone. You underestimate what end means. The seed you planted still grows. Before he could reply, the light shifted. A window opened across the tapestry of creation, revealing something small, fragile, almost invisible. A world that it wasn't Earth, but it was familiar in its design. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Beneath its atmosphere, life was stirring, young, wild, curious. Humanoid forms wandered under alien suns, gazing at the stars with the same wonder that had driven humanity millennia ago. Lyra whispered, "They're like us. They are you," the voice said. "You are their ancestor, written into their atoms. Every universe that ends births another. Memory becomes matter. Consciousness becomes instinct. What you are now will guide them, the way you were once guided by what came before." Orion stared at the planet. It was beautiful, innocent, untouched by the arrogance that had doomed his species. He felt something stir inside him, a flicker of responsibility, of hope. "I could teach them," he said quietly, "to help them avoid our mistakes. Perhaps, or perhaps they must make their own. That is the law of existence. Creation learns by falling." He looked at LYRA. "What do you think?" Her light pulsed softly. "You've always been better at breaking rules than following them." He smiled. "Then maybe one more rebellion won't hurt." The cosmic lattice shimmered. The voice of the collective grew distant, though still kind. "If you return, you will forget this. You will live again, not as what you were, but as what you are meant to become. You will know love, pain, fear. You will die again. And one day, you will remember." "I understand," he said. "That's the price of being human." "Then go, last of the first, father of the next." The light swirled around him, folding in on itself. The warmth became a storm of gold. He felt his consciousness collapse inward, shrinking, condensing until he was falling. Through time, through reality, through everything. LYRA's voice followed him. "Don't forget, Orion. The universe still remembers you." Then she was gone. Darkness. Cold. Then breath. Air-filled lungs that hadn't existed moments ago. A heartbeat echoed, steady and strong. He opened his eyes and saw light, not golden starlight, but sunlight, warm and real, spilling through leaves that swayed above him. He was lying on soft grass. The air smelled of rain and earth. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed high, innocent, unburdened by memory. He sat up slowly, his hands trembling as he touched his face. It was new, young, alive. He looked to the sky and saw 3 suns rising together. The light painted the horizon in colors no human eyes had ever seen. For a moment he just stared, overwhelmed, humbled, and impossibly grateful. Somewhere deep inside, a faint hum resonated, steady and familiar. "We remember you," he smiled. "And I remember you too." The wind stirred, carrying the sound of children's voices. He stood, his feet sinking into the soil of a new world, a world waiting to learn, to build, to dream. And as he walked toward the sound, a small girl ran past him, laughing as she chased a flicker of light that danced just out of reach. She looked up at him and smiled. her eyes bright and gold like twin suns. "Hello," she said. Orion's heart stopped for just a moment, because in her voice, in that single word, he heard the echo of everything that had ever mattered. The word that had started it all. "Hello." And somewhere beyond the stars, the universe smiled back.